The topic of interest this week is shading, giving depth to all the wonderful little details on our plastic men. What up, mini people? Last week we talked about how to lay a good base coat, and this is an important skill to have because it lays the foundation for everything that comes after it, like shading. Since this is a beginner playlist, we'll be going over the easiest way to add shade, and that's with washes. Washes have been dubbed as skill in a pot for how little effort it requires to get such great results. Washes are made by a variety of companies like Games Workshop, Secret Weapon, P3, Vallejo, etc. Washes are so special because they cling to the recesses of your model, giving that nice depth that you need to make the details stand out. The way that they do this is with a little bit of surfactant in them, which breaks the surface tension of the wash. Now, washes do more than just add definition to the detail on your model. They also take your one base coat and produce effectively three different colors. One, the original base tone of the model. Two, the base tone that is tinted by the shade. And three, the area of concentrate where the majority of the wash rested. Now that we know the capabilities of washes, let's talk about the two ways that I see miniature painters apply wash. One is just take your model and dunk it straight into the pot of wash. Done deal. No, don't do that. Take the wash and apply it liberally all over your miniature, ensuring that the shade doesn't rest in any weird spots in the model where a shadow wouldn't normally lay. And two, you can apply wash in specific areas where detail and where shadow would lie. The only difference between these two methodologies is where you spend your time. In the first method, you save a lot of time applying wash, but you'll likely have to apply the base coat again afterwards to bring back your original vibrancy and some cleanliness. In the second methodology, you spend more time applying wash to the miniature, targeting specific recesses. Both of these methodologies are fine approaches. It all depends on what you prefer to do. Let's apply some wash to these two marines and reapply the base coat to clean it up to see a before and after of our two methodologies.
So for our first marine here, we're going to be applying the shade liberally. We're using a size 2 brush, and we're just taking the wash straight out of the pot. And we're using AIRBRUSH Earth Shade. And the reason we're using AIRBRUSH Earth Shade to shade red is because the base coat was done in Mephiston red. And when you add black to Mephiston red, it tends towards a dark brown, kind of like Scourge brown almost from the old Citadel paint range. So that's the logic behind why we're picking brown for our wash. You can see we're really not taking too much precaution here about where the shade goes. We're just kind of applying it very heavily. Could even go faster if need be. Now there are some areas where shadow shouldn't lie, as aforementioned, and you can sponge it up with your brush. If you're noticing that the brush isn't sponging very well, what you can do is wipe off the wash from the brush by rinsing it out in water, and then it should sponge a lot better. See, there's too much wash right here in his hand, so we're going to get the wash out of our brush, and then we're going to wipe away with our brush, and that kind of gets rid of all that kind of unrealistic shadow that's kind of pooling right there. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're applying the wash, just to take care to have it not pool in anywhere that's too awkward, and make sure to get it into all of the recesses. Okay, and we are done with the liberal application of wash, and now we're going to move on to kind of the more targeted application of wash. And for this procedure, we're going to use a smaller brush. We're going to use a size 0 brush. And again, we're taking it directly out of the wash can. Now, some areas have so much detail that it really doesn't make sense to try and apply it carefully, because in the end, it's going to look the same as if you had applied it liberally, like this helmet, for instance. So let's just apply it liberally there. We'll go a little bit more careful in other areas. This chest here as well has tons of detail that we can just kind of wash straight onto. Now, where it kind of gets more applicable is the shoulder pad here. So we're going to try to focus our efforts around these details, keeping the rest of the shoulder pad red. Now, if you remember in the base coating video, I talked about how you want to base coat with the features of your model as to not clog the detail too much. With shades, you want to do the opposite because your intent is to get your shade into the detail. So with this shoulder pad on this side, for instance, there's a rim that runs around it. What we're going to do is we're going to take our shade and load up our brush, and we're going to run the brush in the opposite direction as the shade. And what you can see is a nice little line forming on the rim of the shoulder pad. It's a little bit hard to do it in this corner, but we can get all the way up there. And we're going to proceed doing this all over the model, targeting just the recesses as to prevent cleanup later on. Here's the end result after some cleanup with the base coat. I intentionally left out the explanation and video of the cleanup as I'll be going over layering next week. Can you guys see a difference between the two methods? Which do you prefer?
As you can see, the details of the model pop significantly more, and all it took was a little bit of wash and some cleanup. As a word of warning, old washes can have some funky properties. For one, the pigment starts to separate from the medium, which leaves kind of a gritty finish when you apply it. And two, they can also have a glossier finish. So make sure before you use washes, especially old ones, to check out the pot real good. Now armed with this new information about washes, go forth and wash your miniatures in different colors with different brands to see what best works for your minis. And that brings us to our community highlight time. This week we have Games Workshop Eldar miniatures submitted by the Sable Warlock. I love the totally awesome lava bases combined with the real soft blending he did with his reds and his blues. There's also contrasting finishes in there, some glossier finishes and some more matte finishes. The Sable Warlock is also part of a painting blog where you can find these miniatures. If you're interested in painting blogs, check them out. If you want to see pictures of your miniatures at the end of next week's video, submit a link to this form. If you know a mini man or woman who could benefit from this information, please share this video with him or her. If you enjoy the content of the video, please like it. If you want to see more miniature related content, don't forget to subscribe. And most importantly, don't forget to paint more minis. This week we have Games Workshop Eldar miniatures.